I look like a moose. Yes, but a very cute moose. A moose to make the boy moose go, wah. Is this what I look like? You tell me. Hi, welcome back to the Chicken podcast. I looked back at my videos and realized that it's been 3 weeks since I posted my last episode. That last episode was a quite whispery one because my partner was still asleep. I had been enjoying insomnia, so I didn't want to wake my partner up just because I couldn't sleep at 6 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. But now I am using my full voice and it's daylight outside. Today I have one finished object, and it's actually, hang on, where did I put it? It's actually one of the things that I set out to do as like an experiment, and it is a little scrunchie. It's super simple. I just knitted a tube, which was far bigger than this, and then I added an elastic, tied it up, and then I knit two together from the front and the back of the tube. I was a bit dumb, didn't understand how topography works, because I thought when I knitted the first version of this, like so, I thought this feels unnecessary that I have such a clear line, such a clear seam. What if I just knit it inside out and then turn it? You know where I'm going with this, but I didn't. So I knitted all of these together, wrong side out, and came to the end and I realised, how the fuck do I turn something that doesn't have a beginning and end? So this is my inside out scrunchie and this is my outside out scrunchie, which is smaller. This circumference is quite a lot smaller than this one. I haven't added the elastic because I just couldn't be asked at that point, and I should just do that. This is probably going to be like a scrunchie that I use for half of my hair. This holds up my all of my hair so well. It's the strongest scrunchie that I own. I used 2.5mm needles, my DPNs for that, and the yarn is just a rest yarn from, what project was that? It was one of those colour changing cakes, and I thought that it's from my Aurora Borealis sweater that I knitted 6 years ago or something, and I held that cotton yarn together with an acrylic mohair blend, and the sensory effect is not great, but the visual effect of the sweater is amazing. It's one of the best pieces I've ever made, and I had a bunch of the yarn left over because I was picking and choosing between the different colour sections, and I had a lot of this light green left. So that is my one and only finished object. I have 2 works in progress, and the first work in progress resides within my son, my child, my biological child. And this little basket I was given by my partner for my birthday. I turned 32. I am, as Jenna Marbles once said, a 32-year-old lady, and I had put on my wish list, I told my partner that I wanted a basket shaped like a llama in our living room, because who would not want a basket like a llama? But that wasn't available, so I got this chicken-shaped little dude instead. And in this little dude lives my work in progress for, no no one panic. I'm panicking. I am not panicking. I am fully capable of rescuing this. Okay, so I just jammed my knitting into this basket, heedless of the risk. Okay, did I save everything? I think so. Oof. Why do I have it on such a long cord if I don't use the entire cord? That's dumb. It's not dumb. I made a mistake and that's fine. No one's angry. Okay, so this is my self-drafted cardigan. I'm using for this one of the stitches from the Japanese Stitch Bible for the sleeve, because this is like a creeping vine with flowers and buds on it. I'm going to finish this. The first one is finished. And then I'm going to figure out what I want to do for the body. I didn't want to use only the stitches from that Stitch Bible because I'm thinking about making this a pattern, and I did read people's opinions about using stitches that someone else makes as your own in your own designs, and I think the consensus so far, if there is one at all, is that if you are grading and making a pattern and writing it up, you are contributing so much to the pattern that you can use someone else's stitch pattern for your design. But I wouldn't want to do that fully and just use someone else's stitch pattern for this cardigan. So I am sort of stalling a bit with this, and one of the reasons for my stalling, I'm just trying to move the stitches. One of the reasons is I don't have enough yarn to finish this at the moment. I bought too little yarn. I underestimated how much I would need. I mean, I did have a different project in mind for this yarn to begin with. So I bought enough yarn for that project, but then I pivoted and wanted this for a springy cardigan, and now I have too little yarn and I'm on a no-buy for yarn for another 3 days. So I'm going to stick to that. Yes, 3 days doesn't make a big difference, but the difference to me is doing it properly or chickening out in the last second. And that would feel quite like a shame. So I only have this hank left, as well as the two balls that are attached to the sleeves. And I know that I'm not going to get the same dye lot. That would be an absolute miracle, and I don't believe in miracles, I believe in reality. So I would have to figure out how to do this gradually, because the sleeves I would want to melt into the main body with the raglan seam, and I would want it, so I'm keeping this for this last bit of the sweater or the cable, the cardigan, and then the bottom part I can sort of fade into this when I get around to it. So that is the plan, to buy more of this. I'm going to actually calculate how much yarn this takes and then spread it out to how much surface area I need to cover with this. And then I'm going to go about actually making a pattern for it. The Japanese Stitch Bible has been very, very helpful in my understanding of this creeping cable sort of motif. So I think that I might Frankenstein something together and also extend it, adding some other elements that I want to have that aren't in that pattern. So the sleeves would be an exact copy of Hishida. What is, I don't have it here, of that Japanese designer, but the body would be my own creation, based out of my own knowledge and understanding and preferences. So that's something that I feel quite content with. So that is my one work in progress that's sort of stalling. It's not something that I can bring and do on the fly. So I wanted something easier, because a few weeks ago I did clear my needles. I had 0 whips going on, only finished objects. And then I was looking for the next thing, the next easy thing to knit, mindless knit. And I stumbled over the Bloodroot tea, not Bloodrot, which I internally call it because, yes, I read it, but my mind interprets it as Bloodrot, by Andrea Gaughan. And I'm using yarn that I bought in Norway over the summer for the express purpose of knitting a t-shirt. This is the Tynn Gynt by Sandnes garn, and it's this gorgeous, just punch in your face blue colour. It is a light fingering weight yarn. I'm using 3mm needles, yes. And as you can see, I have finished a lot of the body, it looks like, and I have the stitches left on the sleeves for picking up and finishing. My problem with this is that I, again, bought too little yarn. Did I just find... No, I just thought that I found a pearl where there wasn't supposed to be one. I think that I've managed to do this fairly right. The problem is that I don't have enough yarn. So this is the second to last ball. This is 2.5 balls. I have this and 1 full ball left. I don't know if that's going to be enough. I would like it to be enough because I don't want to buy any more yarn and I don't want to faff around with dye lots. So I'm considering a few different options. One option is I just bite the bullet and I incorporate a stripe of white and a stripe of yellow from my Rauma Fin Ull immediately, just to get a few more centimeters of length. If I even have that much left, I honestly don't know if I do. Never mind. But I am more a solid colour person. Not that you would see that now, me wearing bananas and stripes, but I prefer a solid top to something cluttered, visually cluttered. I do like strong colours, but if I add the stripes, would that lead to me using this more or less? Would it give it this punchy, interesting feature that it sort of lacks at the moment? This is a very classy look. Or is it going to make it unmatchable so that it doesn't really look like it goes with anything that I have? That's what I'm sort of considering right now, because I I want this to be a wearable piece. I've timed myself, and so far I think I've spent 17.5 hours on this. So I would like it to be wearable. But the jury's still out on that. The construction of this, and what drew me into the pattern to begin with, is that it works a set-in sleeve immediately. So you cast on for the back, you knit the front shoulder, and then you pick up stitches on the sleeve cap or the sleeve seam, and then you knit in the round, which gives this beautiful sloping seam but no bulkiness whatsoever along the sleeves. So it looks very neat. I'm curious to see how this will fit. I didn't gauge swatch because I'm living on the edge. Usually I know that I knit tighter than the designer's gauge, and that's very offhanded of me to say that designer's gauge, as if all designers have the same gauge. But usually for small needle sizes I need to go up one size because I knit so tight, and for bigger needle sizes I need to go down. So my sweet spot is around 3.5. That's where I usually keep the same gauge as designers, but for this the recommended needle is I think a 2.75, and this I'm knitting on a 3mm needle, and so far I think it fits. I've tried it on a few times and it looks to fit, but it's like this. It could nearly be finished soon, but since it is a 2x2 rib, it just stretches out and shrinks up, so lengthwise. So I'm going to see where I end up with this. The pattern is very well written. It has a bunch of different sizes. It's quite clearly explained without being hand-holdy, and I think it is an enjoyable experience until you get bored of a 2x2 pearl rib. When I said I wanted to cast on something easy as opposed to the cardigan, I meant easy for my hands and my mind. This is fairly easy for my mind now that I have figured out what to do for the sleeves and picked up and done all of the increases, because this has a different increase ratio depending on where you are in the pattern, so you need to keep an eye out. But what I forgot completely until I started knitting is that what strains my hands the most is changing between a knit and a purl. That is what sort of gives my hands the most strain. And what do? I pick out a rib pattern. Could I not have chosen a stockinette stitch pattern? No, of course not. I wanted to be so flexible with my sides, and I wanted to do the interesting sleeve construction, so of course I went for a 2x2 rib, which is a bitch on my hands. This yarn is also quite rough in comparison to like a sock yarn. This is 100% wool, which is great. But as I said, it's quite rough. It does remind me a lot of the Rauma Finull, which is also 100% wool and a bit of a rougher texture. It's not at all as soft as the recommended yarn for this, which I think is the Knitting for Olive Merino. And I do have a bit of that too, so if I ever if this ends up fitting me well, I would like to use my merino scraps for a scrappy striped tee, because I really like this construction. I like the logic of it, I like the instructions in the pattern, and I like the experience. I think that I can make it more customizable with stripes in different sequences and different ratios than the pattern actually gives you the options. The options are very, for stripes, are very clean and very logical. And I think that I would want, oh, sorry, that was bad mic etiquette. I think I would want a more disorganized stripe because I have quite different colours in the yarn, in the Knitted for Olive merino. So that is my second whip, but probably definitely the one that's getting finished first. I'm sort of running out of hope that I will finish the cardigan in time for spring. It's now the 7th or 8th of April, and spring is quite slow in the part of Sweden where I live, but I don't think that I can order the yarn on the 11th and then have it shipped to me a few days later, figure out an entire pattern, follow it in time to wear it for spring. But you will see, I will see, it's going to be fun. As for new acquisitions, purchases, I haven't bought anything in the last few months. I did, however, get a birthday present from my mum. She was given this book from by a friend a few years ago, and she never got around to doing anything with it. And I think it's very fun. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's funny. This is Japanische Handschuhe stricken by Bernd Kester oder Wester. What's his name? Kestler. These are different hexagonal knitting patterns. No, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's knitted in a square and you increase in a spiral shape from the thumb hole, and then you seam it together with the top opening and the bottom ribbed opening. I think this is a very fun idea. I don't know how I'm going to use it and how and if I can make it look good. I am, however, very curious to see if I can. So I should just sit down and make one of these patterns. It's a fun idea. I do have plans. I have plans for purchases and new cast-ons. I was invited to a friend's bachelorette party in the summer. We're going to Berlin. It's going to be 10 of us, and we wanted something fun to bring the group together. So I proposed that I knit slippers for all of us. I had been eyeing the sailor slippers like everyone else, and I've been thinking about making a pair of slippers for work because I don't want to use my Birkenstock, but I also don't want to shuffle around in my outside shoes. I want like a closed, cozy, warm enough house slipper. So I wanted to make the sailor slipper for myself, and I've heard so much great about the pattern, and I thought, why not make slippers for all of us? The problem with that is that I had the idea a month ago, and since I'm on the no-buy, I haven't bought any yarn and I haven't knit anything yet, and we are leaving in 2 months. I believe in myself, very much so. 2 of the people going are making their own because they are knitters and or crocheters, and I'm making the rest. That's what it looks like so far. I might regret saying that. So the first purchase that I'm making on the 11th is going to be drops of snow for our slippers. I don't know if I will get them in store or if I buy it online. I'll see where I can find the best deal. And also, of course, I want to support my local yarn stores, but I don't know that any of them actually carry drops because I think the profit margin on that yarn is so low that basically just the big warehouses can afford to sell it. But I will have a poke around and see what I can find. So that's the first purchase I'm making, and then I'm going to be spending a lot of my time knitting sailor slippers for the next 2 months, knitting and felting, which I do look forward to because I think it's going to be a fairly mindless knit after a while, and I'm going to have a bunch of different colour combinations, so I will have something new and fun to look forward to, because the ladies in the group, they already, like, I sent them a spreadsheet with the colour selection and a picture of the sailor slippers in different variations, and I asked them to choose their own colours. They have chosen such great colours. I am so excited for this, to see how they turn out and grow and end up looking. The second purchase is going to have to be the Luna by Norsk Lamull. No, is that the... No. Hillesvåg Ullvarefabrik. This yarn I'm going to buy more of. I think I would have to get 3 or 4 hanks of this. So that's my second purchase. And then I would have to see how far I've come on the Bloodroot tea, if I need any more yarn for that. Then I have a bunch of plans, but I don't want to buy for those plans just yet, because I've learned my lesson that if I buy yarn too far in advance, I'm not going to be excited about using it, and I have to work to get excited. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to consume yarn like that. I want to have an idea, figure it out, make the thing fairly quickly. I don't want to have like 16 projects ahead of me, she says, while thinking about making 8 pairs of slippers. So yes, I'm going to have 16 things ahead of me. It's going to be 16 slippers or 18 or whatever, but I don't want to have big projects that sort of lock my knitting time in. So the slippers I'm going to be able to do like in work meetings, during my commute, while I watch the telly, something that I can do while my mind is doing other things. And then I want 1 or 2 projects that are engaging, that I need to think about and sort of refer back to a pattern or look at a chart and not have as mindless of an experience. So fun things ahead. I am looking forward to the knitting spring. I haven't filmed a knitting spring spring knitting plan. Because it's basically just going to be slippers, but I would like some whimsical spring knitting time. So if you checked out 45 minutes ago when I was still talking about relevant things, fine. If you are only now just checking out, thanks for watching. I hope to see you in my next video. Take care of yourself. Enjoy some sunlight, and I hope that you have some good knitting or crocheting or other stuff in your life right now. Bye.